let's say you buy a property on market through an agent, and this could be a house, this could be an investment, this could be whatever you buy, right? Every single time you get one of these, you have to sign the disclosures that you've read them and that the seller also signs they fill them out, right? So let's say that you figure out that the sellers lied on the disclosures. Boo, what do you do? So, like I said, this can be for just a house that you're buying to live in or for investment property that you're buying to have an investment, right? So what's on the disclosure sheet? And it's a variety of different things. Maybe it's, right, there's a whole bunch of stuff on that disclosure sheet, but the main ones that are usually an issue are some sort of infestation, some sort of issue with like a foundation or some structural issue with the house, etc. The list goes on and on. That's an important, I guess the main issue, the main point of this is to say that you bought a house thinking there was no issues and you bought it and you figured out there were issues, right? So what do you do? Let's say it's a basement issue or a foundation, or I keep saying basement or foundation, same thing. But let's say it's a foundation issue or an infestation, right? Those could be super expensive to fix. The first thing to do is you have to figure out that you're able to prove that the seller knew that when they sold you the house. Obviously, if it's a basement wall, let's say, and the foundation's like this and no one saw, well, the first thing you should do is slap your inspector and your agent for offering you to use that inspector, because terrible inspector. I don't understand how inspectors are inspectors and they can't figure out that a wall is bad in a basement. Wall boxes covering it, that's not a good excuse, right? But anyway, let's say that that's what the issue is. So what do you do? The first thing you would do, like you said, a wall isn't going to do that within a week, right? That was probably a issue. There's probably water damage, or not water damage, but water runs. So you can see that it's been, right, a historic problem. Maybe there isn't water runs, but for the most part, a wall is not going to do that within a week, right? It's probably happened over time. And who knows, maybe it hasn't moved ever since they bought the house, but chances are they knew about it. And chances are those boxes and those shelves were there for a reason, right? So the first thing you want to do is get quotes and be able to prove that those issues that you found on your disclosures, the sellers knew about, because that means that you have a case, right? So how do you do that? Let's say it's a foundation. Well, call every single foundation place and ask them for a quote, or be like, hey, I'm calling on this house. And most of the time, if you call and say like, hey, I'm at house ABC 123, you guys came and gave me a quote to fix this a while back, I want to see if you could pull up the quote. Chances are they're gonna be like, oh, hi, Mr. So-and-so seller's name, here's your quote, did you want to move forward? Sure, can you send me an invoice again, because I lost it. Boom, your proof. Right? And same thing with an infestation or anything else, right? It's usually pretty simple to find the proof. You got to just be a little bit of a investigator, right? So step number one, get your quotes and have your evidence to show that they knew of the issue when they sold you the property, right? Some issues you can definitely, right, prove, some you literally can't. But either way, even if you can't prove it, maybe you just do the second step, which the second step is you get a hold of your agent and you tell the agent, hey, this, and this happened. This is wrong with the house. Maybe, like I said, it's the foundation. Can you reach out to the seller's agent? And you want to do this as soon as possible, right? Like if you find this out the first day when you see it, well, tell the agent that day and have the agent message them right that day, right? Just get going on it as soon as possible. So you have your agent, contact their agent and be like, hey, look, we found this. We didn't know about this. You guys, obviously, the seller disclosures were not correctly written or not correctly represented, maybe. And write something along those lines. More often than not, the seller's agent is going to pretty much tell you to kick rocks and ask me how I know all this stuff, because obviously we went through it a bunch of times. So if the agent tells you to do that, then you have to go to pretty much step 3. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, oops, or something. Most of the time they'll tell you to kick rocks, because then it makes them look bad because they knew that they lied on disclosures, right? So they're not going to do that. But what happens next is I guess there's two routes to go, right? Depending on how big the issue is and how much money it's going to cost. Like, let's say you bought a huge house, or not even a huge house, but let's just say the foundation repair ends up costing you like 30 to 50 grand. You just spent all your money on a new house, new furniture, probably a new car, because you're like, hey, new house, new car, new me, right? And all this stuff. So you're out of money. But anyway, that issue shouldn't have been with the house. So issues that big, most of the time end up having to go with some sort of lawyer and having to go back and forth on that. All the issues that we've run across have been smaller issues, but they were still quite significant. So because it was blatantly lied on the disclosures, right? So once the agent tells you to kick rocks, step number 3 is we usually just have a lawyer draft up a demand letter saying exactly the story. Like, you represented this house in this and shape. We came and found out that this house was not in this and that shape. The disclosure was not misleading or lied, and we need X amount of money to fix it. And what's going to end up happening usually is they're going to get a lawyer, and they're going to counter offer you, and you're going to go back and forth, and you might get some money out of it. Or they might just not do anything, and then you might have to go and get yourself a lawyer and have him help you out to actually litigate. I don't know what that's called. Go after the seller for misrepresenting a property. We haven't ever had to do that just because lawyers are expensive, and most of the time these issues are quite small. But like I said, it is a pain. And mostly if you're buying an investment property, this has happened to me on an investment property, and I'll tell you that story in some other time because this video is already running long. But that always seems to happen. Things are always misrepresented. And to me, it wouldn't be a big deal if it was told to me when I bought the property. But in our case, it was an infestation issue, and it was made out to seem like it wasn't an infestation. It was ants, when the infestation was much, much worse. And it's, like I said, we're going to go into that in another video. But as soon as we bought the property, we went back to the property to sign new leases with the tenants, onboard the new tenants, give them our letter, let them know that Surge Property Management will be managing the property. And at that time, we asked them, hey, is there any issues? And infestation, right? So anyway, I hope this video helped. And I hope, honestly, that you never have to go through this, because it's just a pain, mostly if you're buying a house for yourself to live in. You just want to move into it. It's already stressful enough having to move into a new home, and move and all that stuff. So hopefully you don't ever have to deal with it. But if you do have to deal with it, these are kind of like the quick steps that you should take in order to get the problem rectified. And if you have any questions about, I guess, more in depth on kind of what I did or how we handle the problem, feel free to message me, and I'd be glad to help. So hope you have a great night. Hope this video helped, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm sorry, this button.